Welcome to another premiere unboxing. We never know what we're gonna get. We're still waiting for elves and maybe a couple of unicorns, but hey, you gotta be patient, you know what I mean? So, this particular unboxing is a machine out of the great state of Florida, specifically Port St. Lucie, Florida, if any of y'all know where that is. And this belongs to Marc. And Marc is looking to get a full restore of this mystery machine, but he does not want it to be mechanically restored. It's only going to be ornamental. It's only going to be decorative. It's only going to be something pretty to look at. But it's going to be his pretty thing to look at, and it's going to become a family heirloom, a family treasure. So let's begin the process of unveiling what this mystery machine is out of the great state of Florida. All right, lights on! Lights on! That was kind of dramatic, wasn't it? I almost needed it to last longer because we were just getting ready to get into it. Well, that first one was called Imperial Forces. And the next one is called An Army of None. An Army of None. And as you may have suspected, by Dr. Singer and the Singer Repairman being out here on top of this box that we're going to be cracking open in just a little bit, it is a Singer machine. Yes, it is. So I'll give you a couple of other clues as we move into this. Slow but sure. All right, I'm not going to make you wait. I'll give you a real good clue right now. Y'all know Bill O, right? Bill O is my main man that works with Olga and I on the Facebook business page. I will tell you that this machine is a variant of the make and model that Bill has down in Florida. It's not the same make and model. It's a variant of that machine. So that should be a big clue. If you know Bill at all, if you know me, and the things I've shared about Bill and his love of this machine, you're going to be pretty daggone close to nailing it. Yes, you are. All right, let me get Dr. Singer and the Singer Repairman to a safe place, and let's get this going. And to give you an idea of how busy it's been, this machine that belongs to Marc arrived back in February. March, April, May. Yeah, about 3 months it's been waiting to get unboxed. What's up with that? Well, it's called I'm a one-man show, and it's real busy. So appreciate Marc's patience as we've been getting to this point. Kind of fun. It's kind of like an accordion type opening here. Woo, that was fun. This is going to be kind of hard to push back. I might end up bumping Umi because she's so tall. So why don't we do this? Because I'm not going to reuse this box. Why don't we see if I can just take this lid portion off. There we go. Get the rest of the lights on too. There we go. That's such a bulky box to work with. Even though this workbench is fairly spacious, it makes it a little bit more of a challenge. So that last one again was called An Army of None. Before that again was Imperial Forces. And now let's listen to the Battle of, what does it say? The Battle of 1066. The Battle of 1066. This is very dramatic. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick, and I'll come off the tripod to do it, before we launch officially into unboxing Marc's machine from Florida, is what's happening on the other workbench and what's about to happen on the other workbench. A little drama music. Yeah. First of all, this machine right here, which is from 1955, and it's a Type 21, is from the great state of Texas and belongs to David and Denise Stock. Yes, it does. And I'm going to be doing a couple of repairs and restore on this machine to get her back to the way she needs to be. And you'll notice the coloring is a little bit different, a little bit darker green, more of a kind of an off forest green than the minty ones you're used to seeing on this channel. You kind of see the coloring there is different. Even the branding is a little bit different on this as well. But she's a great machine, and she'll be even greater after I get done with her. And then waiting in the lineup to come onto this workbench next is none other than a Singer 222K. Come on, pop open. I'm on camera here. There we go. A Singer 222K from the great state of Florida that's been waiting patiently for her turn. And this machine is affectionately known as Bandit. A Singer 222K born March 17th, 1958. And it belongs to Maddie from Florida. So this 222K is going to be following up on this workbench right after David's machine gets done. Yes, it will. All right, let's continue with the unboxing. Yeah, a little bit of drama music. I kind of like this one. You didn't gather that already? Right about there should be good. All right. So again, the clues on this one is it is a Singer sewing machine, and it is a variant. Another way of saying variant is a subclass of the machine that Bill has down in Kissimmee, Florida. Yes, it is. Let's check this out. This is like a mega box here. Holy mackerel. If we had a little bit of wind, we could take off and fly with this thing. We could. Ooh. Pillow protectors. These are actually pretty good ones. These right here. This is one of those cheapier ones here where you got one that's popped. You got two that are still pretty good. Yeah, that's fun to do. Sorry, should have warned. Whoop, should have warned you again. Yeah, I might repurpose these big ones here. I might repurpose these ones. These are good ones. Ooh. Sounds like they're building a railroad, doesn't it? You hear that? Like the sledgehammer coming down? Yeah. So these again are, you know, the ones that the customer has here, these are fairly high quality ones. And I believe these are separate chamber ones. In other words, you have 4 chambers here instead of 1 chamber where if one pops, you lose all of them. These are a lower grade one here. And you can tell that straight away because this one is kind of popped. It's beginning to lose its air on the end. And that one's completely popped right there. And then you've got a couple that are good. So you know, there's different grades of any packing material. Different grades of any packing material. So choose wisely because the welfare of your machine could be impacted by your choice of the packing materials you choose. And some might cost a little bit more, but the cost compared to what happens if you have a damaged machine are significantly different. So that was called, again, the Battle of 1066. The next one is called Awakening. Awakening. Oh, hey, any of you that follow me real closely, remember that video I did of the boys out on the river? And I had the subtext with it? This was one of the songs I had in that particular premiere. If you haven't seen that one and you can't find it on the channel, let me know and I'll see if I can find it for you and send you the link. Because it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun like popping these, you know? So yeah, the good ones, I'll hang on to those for a little bit. The cheaper ones, these are the good ones. The cheaper ones, I'll get rid of them. I'm not going to even try to repurpose them. Yeah, I got a lot of good feedback on that particular video with the boys. They were out on one of my remote control boats navigating the river and fighting the hard wind. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I might try to reuse that one too. Alright, so again, that was called The Awakening, and now we're going to play something that describes me pretty much every day in the workshop, and that is called Dirty Hands. Dirty Hands. And dirty hands come from dirty jobs, right? I wonder why that Mike guy that did the Dirty Jobs series never ever contacted me and said, hey, can we spend the day in the workshop? Because I would have given him some jobs that would have been, yeah, really intense. You know it. Dirty Hands. Dirty Hands, this sounds pretty wild. All right. All right, I'm going to give you a glimpse inside of the box here so you can kind of see what I'm working with. And I'll try to steer away from the machine because part of the machine is visible. But you can see right here, we've got some padding on the side of here. I'm not sure really what that's going to do. But, and then we got padding around it. We got a little piece of cardboard here as a buffer. And then we've got the machine visible right over here. So again, this is not going to be a mechanical or electrical restore. It's just going to be an aesthetic restore. So let's get back on the tripod and I'll work on trying to get this out. Crank it up just a little bit higher there. I'm going to grab some scissors. Different tools for different jobs. Well, that was like I didn't expect that, did you? A song called Dirty Jobs. It was kind of almost like a hard rock. But I guess hard rock people can get dirty hands too, right? Now we have another interesting title. This next one is called Germ Warfare. Germ Warfare. Well, see, here's an example where those better ones did not do so well. All flat, 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 and the last two survived. They're the last standing survivors out of all of that protection. So even the better stuff can fail sometimes under the pressure of being shipped all the way from Florida to the workshop in Wisconsin. All right, let me give you another glimpse, and I'll let you see more of the machine this time so you can try to toss some guesses out there as to what you think it is. Also, we're going to use a resource online as well so you can analyze it a little bit. Matter of fact, let me show you that resource before I show you the machine, okay? All right, let me turn this down. Better yet, I'll actually stop it. All right, that again is called Germ Warfare. Okay, let's go over and look at this resource that I have that you'll have a chance to kind of analyze. So I'm giving you the model, okay? The model is going to be a class 66. The key is going to be to look at the machine attributes and decide which variant you think it is. And the variant may or may not be in this list. Well, let's just kind of go down the list. And you can look at all of them. And these are going to be feature attributes of the machine that distinguish it from the other class subclasses. And they're also referred to as class 66 variants. So the 66-1 is the one that Bill has down in Florida. And you can see they describe it as a treadle back clamping presser foot, cam bobbin winder, and a screw stitch length adjuster. That's the 66-1. Then you've got the 66-3, which is just like the 66-1, but it's a hand crank. So one was made for treadle table, the other one was one that followed it and was made to have more portability as a hand crank. The next one is the 66-4, which is a back-mounted motor, side clamping presser foot, spoked wheel, cam bobbin winder, screw stitch length adjuster. Then we got the 66-5, which is like the 66-4, but it's a hand crank. 66-6, which is like the 66-4, but instead of having a spoked wheel, it has a solid wheel. The 66-8 is a Series 4 motor with a rim bobbin winder and a solid wheel with a lever stitch length adjuster. 66-14 is a treadle with a lever stitch length adjuster, simple bobbin winder. The 66-15 is like the 66-14, but a hand crank. The 66-16 is like the 66-14, but it has a back rear mounted motor and a solid balance wheel. The 66-18 is like the 66-14, but it's got a back off-mounted motor. The 66-24 is like the 66-14, but it has a back rear mounted motor and a solid balance wheel. Whew, that's a list, isn't it? So all of our options again, and this is fairly comprehensive. It's put out by my friends in the United Kingdom. But it gives you just an idea of all the variants within that Class 66 series. Everything from Bill's machine as the 66-1 to the 66-3, -4, -5, -6, -8, -14, -15, -16, -18, -24. A lot of variants. And I can tell you already that I know from the pictures that Mark shared with me of this machine that's going to get only an aesthetic restoration, that it's even a little bit more confusing of a variant because there is a special attachment that was put on it to allow it to do back tacking. Yes, indeed. And also it controls some other functions of the machine as well. So let's take a closer look at this now before we get it fully de-cocooned, if such a thing exists. Over here you can't see much. It's a lot, it's kind of translucent. You can see a little bit of it peeking through there, but not much at all. All right, let's finish this unboxing. We'll put on some more music and we'll see if we can figure out what variant of Class 66 Marc's machine is. We know when it was born, but the problem with the summaries for serial number is it gives only the main class generally. It doesn't give the class variants. Okay, let's finish listening to Germ Warfare. Germ Warfare. Okay, so there you can kind of see the machine as it's laying in the box. So as it was positioned in the box, it's laying on its side, and it looks like the back of the machine is facing down. Not the worst way to ship, but my only concern is there's not a huge amount of padding on the bottom of the box. You basically have, let me see if I can change this shot a little bit. You basically have this thin sheet of cardboard, and then you've got these little pads that are kind of on it, but because of the width of them, they're not completely anchored down, so they're creating some buffer on the bottom, but it's kind of a, if you could feel it with your own hand, it's kind of a stiff styrofoam type material, more of a pliable styrofoam, but it still has a lot of rigidity, so it's going to take some impact, but it's not going to give a cushy ride to this machine traveling all the way from Florida to Wisconsin. You know, 1,000+ miles of getting dropped on cement floors, getting tossed on the metal beds on trucks, and everything else that this machine was exposed to in its journey to the workshop. Now, we don't have to be concerned about it working at the customer's request, but broken things on a machine, even with an aesthetic restore, sometimes need to get replaced. So hopefully we don't face that with Marc's machine. That's a Class 66 variant, okay? All right, let me see what I can do here. See how they kind of did that? Marc has these on the bottom as kind of a shock absorber, which again, not a bad concept, but not quite as good. And I can feel the contours of the machine through the padding that's around the machine, so it's not cocooned really heavily either. So it could have been a better packing approach, but let's hope things worked out. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. All right. So that was called Germ Warfare. I wouldn't put it at the top list of my favorite songs, but you know, maybe some of you thought it was kind of cool. So this next one is called Then A, like the letter A, Left Turn. Then A, Left Turn. Okay. Ooh. Got a little rock going on here. Little rock. All right, so now you're able to see a little bit more of the machine. What observations are you making about what you can see of the machine right now? What observations are you making? Take a look at what you can see. And if you want to say zoom in, I'll say zoom in a little bit. Note what observations you're seeing, and then think about the description of those Class 66 variants that I showed you. Well, you're saying I took a little holiday down to St. Augustine, Florida, and Scott's all of a sudden a rocker. Yeah, pretty much. So some of the attributes you might be noticing on this machine is, you might be noticing that it does not have a spoked wheel, but it has a solid wheel. You might also be noticing that the bobbin winding style of this machine is what kind? Can you see it in the shot? It's called a cam bobbin winder. It's a cam style bobbin winder is what it is. Because of the shape, it almost looks like a heart on the front of the bobbin winder. So we know it has a solid balance wheel, not spoked. We know that it has a cam bobbin winder style. And we know that, well, we don't know as far as the upper tension control, if that's going to give us any clues. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this and see what we find. I'm trying to pick another song for us. So this next one is called Game On. Game On. If you've ever seen like a sporting event and your favorite team is trailing behind and all of a sudden they rally together. They might even have a huddle. They might do some high fives. They might do a Lambeau leap if you're a Packer fan. And all of a sudden the game starts to turn, and that other team that was showing domination all of a sudden starts to fall. It starts to crumble. It starts to unravel. And it's probably because in that huddle, when that team came together that was behind, they said something like, okay, now it's game on. Yeah, game on. Game on, baby. Game on. All right, let's take a closer look at Marc's 66 class variant and see what we see. So again, the padding around this machine, I'll just say this before we continue, is insufficient. Even for a machine that is coming to the workshop for an aesthetic restore. Because all the components of the machine, all the parts of the machine are going to be an essential part of that aesthetic restore, and they're being exposed right now because the padding is way, way insufficient, where they could get damaged, and then Marc is going to incur additional cost in getting those parts restored so that the restore aesthetically can be complete. So don't ship it like this, folks. And it's possible that Marc got help from someone in doing this. They could have done a lot better job. I'm just going to say it straight to you, okay? Now there you can get a real clear vision. There you can get a real clear vision of it, can't you? Yeah, this got banged around a little bit. Let me zoom in on what we can see a little bit more. Actually, you can see it quite well from here. So you can see clearly now it has that solid balance wheel. It has that special bobbin winder assembly that I mentioned before. It's called a cam bobbin winder. And you can also notice it's been adapted with an attachment on the front of here. And we'll look at that closer once we get all of this wrap off of it. But you can see it's got a special attachment that was put onto the machine to give it the capacity to go forward and reverse, and also control the stitch length differently than the standard screw-in type that you would have seen from this period of machine. So it's not even a pure and simple variant, it's a modified variant of a Class 66. So we'll see if we can figure it out. And I'll kind of leave it to you as student teachers to help me do that. So this next one is called Running Scared. Running Scared. If you've ever had an event in your life that's caused you to run scared, something traumatic happened, you can share that story if you want to come out of the shadows and do that. Something that really freaked you out and it kind of gave you that fight or flight reaction. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear what it is. I've had a number of them in my lifetime, and I won't go into my stuff. Some of it was when I was serving in the military, but I'd like to hear your stories. So this next one is called Running Scared. Running Scared. Yeah, I've become quite a rocker here based on this music, huh? Holy mackerel. Kind of see what I mean here. This material right here, a lot of which is flattened from transport, and some of it looks just like it's a plastic wrap, is not enough. So if you're shipping a machine to the workshop, learn from this opportunity that you have to cocoon the machine much, much better than you've seen this premiere. That was pretty intense, wasn't it? Yeah. So even though this is not going to be a machine that receives a mechanical restore and was not earmarked to receive an electrical restore, as a courtesy, unless the client tells me otherwise, I'll probably look at doing some rewiring, and you'll see why. You'll see why straight away. That way, if somehow in the future, perhaps after Mark is gone and this heirloom piece that he's so thoughtfully prepared for his family is a lasting legacy of him, someone doesn't inadvertently try plugging this in and have a shocking experience. And then they, like that last song, they would be running scared because there probably would be a combination of electrical jolt and maybe some fire. So this next one, and by the way, the keyword that I typed in to get all these songs that we're listening to was nothing other than Army, A-R-M-Y. And it's because Marc is a veteran. So thank you, Marc, for your service as well. I love meeting fellow veterans. So this next one is called Don't Shoot. Don't Shoot. All right, so let's take a closer look now at Marc's machine. I'll come off the tripod. Okay, so first of all, my comment about the electrical, which is not part of an electrical, or not part of a aesthetic restore, is what I meant to say. But you can see why I said I wouldn't want anybody to try plugging this in. Yep. All bare wires right there. Plus they're touching, so if you tried to plug it in right now, you would get a boom, and it would pop your circuit and give you a real scare, that's for sure. So I'll talk to Marc about that, but unless the motor is going to be removed from the machine, that really is going to be an essential part of the restore as well. So again, a solid balance wheel, standard clutch release, cam style winder, kind of goes like a pendulum back and forth as it's distributing the thread on the bobbin. These are really cool. Some of them have an extra piece. I talked about the heart assembly that's on some of them. It kind of is right underneath this mounting bolt. This one doesn't have that. So obviously this is going to get taken down to metal. All of the remaining decals that you see are going to be taken off when the paint is removed. It's going to receive several coatings of commercial auto grade paint, and then that surface is going to be prepared. There's going to be brand new decals put on the machine, and then multiple layers of clear coat are going to be put on after that. So this is a little attachment that I talked to you about that was put on this Class 66 variant. It provides reverse function, back tacking, and it also is going to give you a stitch range on the machine as well by moving this lever up and down. So you can see the stitch range is comparable to what you would see with most Singer machines, 6 stitches per inch all the way down to 30 stitches per inch. And you can see they have a split point there between the forward and the reverse. So the cool thing about this control attachment that was put on the machine is it's going to give you equal control over back tacking stitch length variant as it is forward stitch length variant. So some machines, if you go in the back tacking mode, you're going to get a standard size back tacked stitch length size, usually somewhere like around between 6 to 10 stitches per inch. With this one, if you go into the reverse mode, which is all the way up here, you're able to designate the stitch length in that reverse capacity of the machine, along with then moving down into the forward range and having equal control over that stitch length variant. In fact, as you look at the reverse window here, you actually have annotated on this attachment different stitch ranges down to greater finality as far as what the stitch outcome would be in the reverse of the machine than you do in the forward of the machine. In other words, here you only have 6, 10, 15, 30. Here you've got 6, 8, 10, 15, 30. So you have a little bit more choice within that reverse mode of this attachment on the machine. So kind of cool. Now for practice, if you want to look up this machine to try to figure out what the birth date is, there's the serial plate right there. So you can see the serial plate is A as in Apple, C as in Charlie, 034618. AC 034618. So if you want to look it up and you're the first one to post it in the chat, if you're the first one to put down the complete birth date and also put down the production group size, if you would do that as well, you'll get an A in the class for the day. And also, if you share your personal mailing information, I'll send you something special. You got to be the first one and you got to nail it. You got to get it right. So I'll give you a little bit of time to do that, and then I'll give you the answer. So the rest of you that didn't look it up will know. But you can see this machine has had a little bit of a rough life. You've got a combination of paint loss, decal loss, rust. And it's kind of flaking here as well. Here you can see it's hit a bumpy road. It's had a rough life. And we're missing the plate for the bobbin, but Mark sent that along with the machine. So I've got a bobbin cover that I can use as part of the restoration as well. Now I'm going to show you a really different style upper tension. Look at that one. Now we've seen variants of this upper tension control that are unnumbered. You've seen a lot of them on this channel. This one happens to be from the 1920s, and they went from unnumbered to numbered. So it was kind of a step up in the latter part of the 1920s when some of the Class 66 variants got this type of upper tension control. Because a lot of people complained, and they never knew where they were at. And if they changed between materials or thicknesses like you've seen me do on this channel, and you got to mess around with the upper tension, then it's like, okay, what number was that other sweet spot for that other type of material? And enough people kind of griped and complained about it. Singer finally said, okay, we'll add numbers to it. And then certainly there were other evolutions of the upper tension that followed this in going into the 1930s, 1940s, and so on. But this was quite a step up for the Class 66 users so that they could find that sweet spot for different sewing projects and materials they were working with and not have to constantly struggle with an unnumbered upper tension saying, okay, I think it was about a 1/4.5 a turn. I think it was about 3/4. I think, you get the idea. Yeah. So, and this is minor just to point it out, but when you have insufficient packing, little things like this can happen where this thread guide right here has been broken loose. See that? And it's also been compressed in too. And it caused some damage. See that damage to the paint there? Which doesn't matter because the paint's coming off anyway, but little things like this can happen when the packing is less than ideal. And that actually falls into the category of being a repair, but I'm just going to consider that part of the restore. Yeah. Nice ornamental faceplate on this. Again, being from the 1920s. They had some real classy style faceplates for the Class 66 variant machines. Yes, they did. And you can see another clue as far as what variant or subclass this is that we have a rear-mounted motor. A rear-mounted motor that you do not want to consider plugging in, because you can see even at the exit point there where the wiring comes out of the motor, we have bare wire right there. See that? So again, with an aesthetic restored, it normally doesn't involve electrical. It's going to be paint, it's going to be chrome, it's going to be rechroming. And so this is something I'll chat with the customer about a little bit and just find out what their wishes are, and then see whether or not I can incorporate that into the aesthetic project without having to charge them additional money. I like to be fair. And you get to see part of the reason that Mark wants to get it restored. You can see pretty readily. All right, have you had a chance to look up the serial number yet? Again, the serial number is right here, AC034618. And if you looked it up, then you would know that it was born, this machine was born, not it is a nice pronoun, but I don't like to use it in association with machines. She or he was born on February 1st, 1928. February 1st, 1928. So if you were the first one to type that in the chat, bring that to my attention right now, if you would. Kind of scroll and look at the chat. And if you were the first one to put down, born February 1st, 1928, and if you included the production group size as well, which I haven't looked at this in a while, since Mark and I communicated about it, but I believe it was a standard 50,000. And if you already looked it up, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe it is from a production group size of 50,000, and I know for sure that the machine was born February 1st, 1928, unless I wrote my numbers down wrong, which happens. Because sometimes a teacher, but yeah, always a student. So I like doing the little impromptu contest. It's fun, isn't it? And surprisingly, the kickback spring is actually still working on this. Yeah. And if you're saying kickback what? There's a little spring that extends right from behind here and kind of goes underneath there, and it causes a backlash type effect when you release it. It kind of, it's right now it's locked in place resisting that spring, and then as soon as you release that little catch there, it pushes it back up. And those do have a tendency to break over time just because, you know, it's thin gauge metal, and you're doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, like I'm doing right now. And eventually sometimes do break. So that's good. Yay. So we come out in the shot. There's a more of a totality shot of Mark's Class 66 variant. Let's turn around and look at the back. And unless, I don't think Mark sent it with the stuff that he did, but I'll have to obviously add a spool pin here as well. We're missing the spool pin on top. And based on the back here, you can see there's no branding at all of Singer. Like most of the Singer machines you see, whether it's Class 66 or otherwise. Standard rear ornamental plate. And we've got our motor. Our motor mounted to the rear, which is not a traditional Singer motor, is it? This particular one, they're giving the power in horsepower, which looks like it's 1/20th horsepower. And I'm guessing that that's going to, I didn't do the math, but guessing that's going to translate to right around 0.6 amps. You can see this one is wired and wrapped to give a higher spin up, peaking at around 5,000 RPM. So it's going to be the one that was put out by the electrical manufacturing company of, yes, my hometown again. My hometown was so instrumental in sewing machines, wasn't it? Racine, Wisconsin. Racine, Wisconsin is where this motor came from that's mounted on Mark's machine. So I always love seeing Racine come up. That's kind of fun, isn't it? And hopefully no one was trying to run this machine primarily because of the wiring, but also the belt is not even on the pulley. See that? And it's sometimes a matter of, yeah, motor mount is kind of loose. That's probably why. See that? So in a matter of seconds we can go, you said the belt was off the pulley. That's not what I'm seeing. Shazam! So yeah, it's just a matter of it was super loose and in transit it was getting bumped around and it worked its way off. Okay, so let's look at the totality from the rear of Marc's machine. So solid balance wheel, cam style bobbin winder, rear mounted motor. What are our Class 66 variant options that I showed you earlier on that summary page from our friends from the UK? Hey, look at it, it's a dancing light. Oh yeah, it's one of those overplates. See, this one, most of the time you can access this for maintenance by just loosening this ornamental plate, and then you can lubricate different critical points on the main shaft and the pitman arm. This one, you've got to remove the whole light assembly when you do that, which is not a big deal. It just means taking this all the way out, removing both instead of just being able to tilt this. So I'm sure there were people that kind of like the stitch length control dilemma of unnumbered. There were probably people that complained about this too, no doubt. Okay, so again, the attributes of the machine: solid balance wheel, rear mounted motor. The stitch length control is totally different with that attachment on there than it normally would be. Numbered stitch length control, or upper tension, excuse me. I'm stuck on that stitch length. So numbered upper tension, cam style bobbin winder, solid balance wheel, rear mounted motor. Let's look again and see what our options are. Let's look again and see what our options are. And we can see as well, the other thing I didn't point out, oops, is the presser foot mount. Unlike Bill's that's on the rear of the machine, this is a side mount for the presser foot attachment on this machine as well. And I don't think the summary that we're looking at talks about drop-in bobbin, but this, like most of the Class 66s, has a drop-in bobbin as well. Okay, so let's look and see what our options are to help you kind of narrow it down. Help you kind of narrow it down a little bit. Okay, I think we can eliminate Class 66-1 straight away. Yes, it has a cam bobbin winder, but the clamping for the presser foot for the 66-1 is on the rear. And the second thing is, if you want to get real detailed, the screw stitch length adjuster on the 66-1 is not on this variant of the Class 66. This one has an attachment that was put on it to give you control over stitch length and also give it back tacking capacity. So we can say to a 66-1. It's also not a 66-3 because the dash 3 would have the same type of back clamping presser foot style, and this one doesn't. So not a 66-3. Now we're looking at the dash 4. So back rear motor, yes. Side clamping presser foot, yes. Spoked wheel, nope. Cam bobbin winder, yes. And a screw stitch length control, nope. So it's not going to be a dash 4, even though we were hopeful when we started to read that. The dash 5 is going to be very similar, but a hand crank, note of that. The dash 6 is going to be like the dash 4, but a solid wheel. So if it's going to be like the dash 4, mounted motor, yes. Side clamping presser foot, yes. Solid wheel instead of a spoked wheel. And a cam button winder, screw stitch length. It's going to be a little bit different. So the closest we've come so far is going to be the 66-6, right? Based on the attributes. The 66-8 Series 4 motor, rim bobbin winder, solid wheel, lever stitch length adjuster. That's also a possibility, isn't it? 6614 treadle lever stitch length adjuster, simple bobbin winder. Note of that. 6615. Nope, not to that. 6616. Back rear mounted motor and solid wheel. That's also a possibility, isn't it? Because they're not giving us all the details. 6618. Different style motor mount. So that's not going to be the case. And then finally, 6624 is going to be like the 14, but it's going to have a solid balance wheel, just like Marc's has a solid balance wheel. So the biggest attribute, if the machine had some add-ons put on it, like that stitch length controller that gave it back tack capacity, that's a mouthful. It's going to be looking at the machines that have the solid balance wheel instead of the spoked, right? So as we're looking at the different choices, I'll come out a little bit more. So we're looking at the different choices. The ones that are going to give us a solid wheel, starting from the bottom up, is going to be the 6624, the 6616. I'm scanning. The 66-6. Scanning, and that's about it. Yeah, according to this summary that our friends from the UK gave me. So those are going to be the potential models if you want to help me try to narrow it down. And you can reach out afterwards, and if you do, with some evidential suggestions as to why it's a certain variant of the 66 out of our options. Again, our primary options on this summary list is going to be a 6624, a 6616, scanning, sorry, 66-6, that's it. So we're looking at the dash 6, we're looking at the dash 16, and the dash 24. So if you want to dig a little bit more, even during the premiere you can dig if you want, and then post something. If it helps us zero in on what subclass it is, what 66 variant it is, whether it's the dash 24, whether it is the dash 16, or the dash 6, then, wait a second, or the dash 8. I apologize. I just missed that because it was a little bit off keel there as far as where I was looking. So let's add another one to the list now to make it even more challenging. The one on this summary list from the UK tells us that the dash 6, the dash 8, the dash 16, and the dash 24. So we have 4 potential 66 variants that Marc's machine may well be. I have my opinion as to which one it is, but I'll be curious to get your feedback. So type it in the chat or reach out after the premiere and let me know your thoughts. And if you take time to do that and give some good evidential summary as to why you think it's a certain variant, I'll send you something special, okay? So again, so I don't goof it up, we're looking at the possibility that it could be a 66-6, 66-8, 66 dash 16 or 66-24. One of those four variants, okay? Yeah. So, and again, singers sometimes amid the variant transitions would do added things to the machine without doing a lot of fanfare about it. So that sometimes can complicate things a little bit as far as identifying that that variant of whatever class it is, whether it's class 66 or some other model. Here we've got four possibilities based on the summary list that my friends from the UK shared with me. So we'll see. We'll see. But in any case, this is going to be quite a project that, again, is going to be focused strictly on the idea of, had to get that cord from underneath the machine. It's still stuck. Help. And the other thing I'll just point out is this is original coated wiring here that would have come from the factory. This, someone else rewired the machine. And this is the wiring that's coming off of the light. And there's nothing wrong with this wiring. It's a lamp cord, but I'm just pointing out that this is original, this is not. So from an aesthetic standpoint, again, not looking at the functionality of the machine, I would like the light to work, and I'm sure Mark would as well, so I'll do my best for him there. But I'll probably look at replacing this brown, more contemporary lamp cord with a traditional black cord so that it matches the aesthetics of the machine a little bit better. There's no reason this couldn't be a working machine. I'm seeing good hook action, hook timing. Hey, I've got a bonus question for y'all, looking at this machine as I'm turning it. As we're looking into the raceway area where the bobbin would seat, are we looking at a machine, well, let me say it more broadband than that. What kind of machine hook system does this Class 66 variant have? Does it have a rotary, or does it have an oscillating hook system? Type that in the chat, would you? Giving you plenty of time to see its action, folks. Plenty of time! All right, I'm just going to grab my pillow real quick because I did not rotate this machine back and just look at the bottom. I would like to do that. Wow, there you can really see the bare wires. Yeah, do not plug this in. Do not plug this sucker in. So part of the restore aesthetically will be obviously getting rid of all of this varnishing that's on here. Again, the customer does not want a working machine, but as I go through the aesthetic restore, it may end up having the capacity to sew anyway. So that'll be kind of cool. And again, when you look at the pedestal feet on the Class 66, you've got this pedestal foot right here, and you have the rear pedestal foot. And it's similar to Cindy Blong's that I recently presented to you, where this is not designed to self-stand on a table. It's not going to sit level. So you have to use one of those furniture slider pads or something like that to level it out if you're wanting to try to use the machine outside of a table. But I know that Mark is probably going to put this into a table. Okay, well, we have, again, a machine from the 1920s and specifically February 1st, 1928, a 66 dash question mark. A 66 dash question mark. Again, if you've typed it into the chat, I'm not looking at the chat. I'll be interested to see what variants you come up with as far as what you think it might be. Or you can send me a note afterwards and let me know what your thoughts are as far as the variant. And I'm going to begin moving forward with this restore. So a lot of parts will have to come off to go through the process of getting that new paint on there once it's stripped down. And eventually fresh decals, multiple layers of clear coat. I always try to put multiple layers because clear coat is really kind of the protection for all the work that's underneath the machine once that restore is done. If there's not enough clear coat on there, kind of like a car, that machine could somehow be exposed to getting a scratch, and it could totally undo all of the work that was put into that restore. So I usually try to go with multiple layers of clear coat to galvanize that finish. So if there's a light little scratch or something like that, a grandchild or something like that scratches the surface, it's something that could easily be cleared up so that it's virtually unnoticeable. If it goes down into the paint, then you've got another thing coming, because it complicates that surface repair considerably. All right, well, thanks for watching this unboxing. Thank you, Mark, from the great state of Florida, for sending this incredible machine that's going to look crazy incredible when I get done with it. And I wanted to clarify something as well. I have a paint shop apart from the workshop, and yes, I do the paint work. Have a partner there that works on motorcycles and a variety of other restores with cars, and lease space there. So I can do a lot of these restores there in the paint shop. Real small things, kind of like I did recently with a machine that went back to Tennessee. Donna's machine, that Kenmore 1050. The painting that I had to do was so small scale, I did that here at the workshop. But the bigger stuff like this actually goes to a paint shop that I lease space at, about an hour away from the workshop. So any of you who are wondering or confused, there's the rest of the story. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. Hope you had fun kind of guessing the class variant of the machine. And obviously when I present the machine eventually in its finished state, I will reveal then what the class variant is. Or if someone nails it before then, I'll acknowledge that probably in a follow-up post on Facebook. Because I always announce all the premieres like this on Facebook as well. So, all right, there you go. Thanks, Mark. And I'll end with a little bit of song, I think. What should we put on? How about Triple R? Triple R. And also, I need to ring the bell. I need to ring the bell twice. Class begins. Class ends. good drum player. Yes, he is. All right, y'all take care. Thanks for watching this unboxing. God bless. And remember something. Yeah, I'll quote it next time. Take care. Bye.